Ah, yes, here we are once again. And of course,
Yeah, there we
we are
go.
live. And Beach again cannot hear me when we go live for some odd reason. That's a weird glitch. In any case, we are live. It is Wednesday at noon Eastern Time. If you're watching live, Wednesday at noon Eastern Time. Of course, that means it is time for the High Noon Hemp Show. Of course, I am Stoner Jesus. I do various things on the interwebs. Beach will be returning soon. For some reason, when we start the show, he can hear me before the show. He hears me before we go live, but then when we go live, he can no longer hear me, and that's just a very weird glitch that I'll never understand. In any case, we are here.
I'm
Beach,
back.
he is high above the Hemptations and the Flower Factory in Northside. Beach, how are things this week in the world of Hemptations?
Good. We are starting what used to be Hemp History Week, now being called Hemp History Month.
Hmm.
So,
Right.
I'm going to end the show today doing. So I'm going to do the whole. I'm going to get every Wednesday of the month. I'm going to do part of Hemp History. Today's part is going to be from the years roughly 28 million years ago to year zero
Wow.
when it comes to the history of hemp. I'm going to try to get everybody educated on what happened in between those years the best that I can. So we'll see.
There you
Um, but I have some banners. I need to pull them out. Some Hemp History Week banners. Later, you'll see in the "What Are You Wearing" Beach part of the show how I'm celebrating today. Anyway, um, and so it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. Either way, whatever. Hemp has such an incredible history. Um, and so remember, everybody, the FDA has not evaluated this show for safety or efficacy. Um,
Indeed.
that being said, let's go ahead and put our peace signs on our shoulders. Whatever. I pledge allegiance to the hemp fields of America and to the soil in which it is planted. One seed under the sun with responsibility, sustainability, and thrivability for all.
Indeed.
So we got 163 days left in the federal ban. There are now three separate bills, and I'm sure I know that at least two, I believe, are bipartisan. Um, that may try to wipe it out before it happens. So we'll see. Now these will have to get somehow. They're going to have to attach these to the next appropriations bill. Will the government go on strike again? I don't know. Cannot predict that. But so we'll see how this all plays out. But I truly feel one way or another. We still have a half a year,
Right.
honestly, until this happens. And so I'm staying hopefully optimistic that the federal ban will get turned over. Um, in Ohio, now, here's the deal. We just found out that there is one company that will be able to sell its hemp derived THC, hemp derived whatever products in the state of Ohio. One company. I don't know how this is all working out, but I just saw this. The fact of the matter is, if there is one company that can legally sell hemp derived THC, hemp derived THCA, whatever it may be, then there is 0% chance that I don't believe that I should have those very rights.
Right.
I don't know what they did to be singled out to say, we're the only ones to be able to do this. But I think that if there is one company that maybe, I don't know how that worked with the judge. I don't. Um, And that's what I don't understand about it either. If it was money, then there should have been a bunch of people suing the state, and then we were all free to do what we want to do in the state. But that didn't happen. Anyway, fact of the matter is that there is one business in the state of Ohio that can sell these products. Then all businesses in the state of Ohio can sell these products. That is 100% part of consumerism laws that I've been talking about as well. And this comes under the guise that the government cannot say you can only go one place to get one thing if that thing is available in other places in other forms. Period. So I'm gonna do some little bit of research on how the whole thing went down, but I would definitely say that I will get the information on the court case and I'll post it on the door. I'll be like,
Right.
um, these people versus this people says that we can sell these products in the state of Ohio, because that's what it says. I don't care if it actually says they're the only ones. I don't think they're the only ones. I think that they got permission through the courts to sell their products, but it doesn't mean they're the only ones. It just means they were the ones that went to the courts to get permission to sell their products, which once again tells me the state of Ohio cannot tell us we cannot sell these products. So I feel very quickly, very, very good, honestly, about the fact that within a week, I will start putting those products back on the shelf. And I gotta do a little research to actually what the actual verdict of the court was, to see how to, what did they, whatever. Anyway, so there we are, folks, in Ohio. We'll see how it all plays out, but I'm pretty sure I know how it's going to play out for me.
Yeah.
One way or another. So, speaking of that, let's get on with the show. How about the little product spotlight? 4 from the store, 1 from my door, here on the High Noon Hemp Show. The first one are some No Bad Ideas wide brim hats. We are. Uh-oh. There we go. We are, slowly approaching the official summer solstice. But I can tell you, it is, between the spring and last week was kind of an exception to the rule because it got kind of rainy, like right around the holiday weekend, of course, and all that. It didn't spoil my plans in any way, but probably spoiled a lot of other people's plans. But the sun is shining, and the sun shines a lot in this area, in the high state area. We have enough sun to make solar efficient. I know that for a fact. We have more sunny days than anything else, as far as that goes. And so, a wide brim hat is a good thing for the summer, one way or another. Protect your skin from that sun, because as much sun and as much as I love sun, it is not good for the human skin. It's a proven fact. Okay. So, it's very likely that next week's product from my door is going to be my hemp sunblock. So, anyway, wide brim hat, keep the sun off. It's got the little, put it up underneath there. So if out on the boat or whatever, you can put it tied up underneath the chin so it doesn't blow off. Little strap so you can hang it around your back and look cool that way too, and you're not wearing it.
Gotta look cool.
Gotta look cool. It's not important to feel good. It's important to look good.
Exactly.
All right. Speaking of looking good, how about some Dash Hemp jean shorts? Huh? These are what we called jorts back in the day. These are even like a fancy pair of jorts because they're kind of cargo jorts. You got a cargo pocket in them. These are men's sizes. I definitely have some of the bigger sizes. I didn't check to see all the sizes that I have, but I probably got 5 or 6 pairs of these on the rack. And I one reason why they came to mind is because I sold a pair of them yesterday. So, it's also that time. So come on, get yourself some Dash Hemp jorts, cargo jorts, nonetheless. We got picnics and all that stuff happening, and nothing better for a picnic than some hemp straws. They are biodegradable. They are compostable, so they will break down. They will break down in less than 90 days. So they get dropped into the park grass or into the lawn. You forget about them. You just don't see them because they're green. Most more than likely, with the good old rain and the elements. And we are going to be experiencing what I believe is a super El Nino. So it's going to be a little bit rainier this summer. Also, wide brim hat good. Keep the rain off of you. It's like an umbrella for your head, yo. Anyway, these hemp straws shall break down quite quickly. Even again, if they find their way to the landfill, I feel like it's almost part of our civic duty to send as much biodegradable and compostable stuff to the landfill, to counteract all the crap that's going to be there for 500 years. Anyway, here's you have it, some hemp straws. And then the last one for every good picnic or beach gathering or whatever, we've got the high flyers. The greatest, Frisbee. And I hate to say Frisbee because Frisbee is actually a brand, but they're lined. The weight around the outside is hemp seed, and so they're soft, but they fly. Not great distances, but decent distances. I still haven't found out whether these are legal for disc golf putters yet, because I've been doing that, and I have some of these, and I really feel like that's like a genius. There's no way one of these would bounce out of a disc golf hole.
Yeah.
No. If it did, it would be phenomenal. The hemp flyers, which is something we made at Planet Everywhere, those are like super soft. The Lost Harvest ones, which are on the shelf kind of behind there, the yellow and red and black and whatnot, those are actually a little bit more stiff. Their outside is packed a little bit tighter, and I don't know what they line them with. I can only hope it was hemp seed, but I can't say that it is. But so they're a little stiffer, but still soft. They don't hurt when they hit you like a plastic flying disc would. We call them flying disc. I don't know why I didn't say that earlier. We call ours high flyers. That's what we called ours. That was the name of ours. The Planet Everyone high flyers. Flying disc works just as well. And they might have called the Lost Harvest might have called theirs high flyers too. So I might have actually stolen that from them when we did it. I should fully admit to that now, because when I find out later that that's the case, I don't want to think that was actually my idea to call ours high flyers. Anyway, there you have it. 4 from the store on the product spotlight going into the summer time. The one from my door is my laundry bag, which I use quite evenly. I am lucky that I have a washer and dryer here at work, because I don't have a washer and dryer on the boat. Mm-hmm. As awesome as that would be, I would take up like my full basement. And it couldn't be like they have to be front loaders because I couldn't open them up top wise. I can tell you that. Anyway, it's very convenient. So there it is. My hemp laundry basket. Originally it's patterned after what was originally a military duffel bag.
Mhm.
And so it really technically could be called a military duffel bag, although it should be made out of canvas, which is what the original military duffel bags were made out of. Most likely hemp, especially. This really makes me want to do a project because, and I hope I still have this. I have my grandfather's military duffel bag from World War II. And I have never thought to myself for 1 second that was made out of hemp until just now. um, and the reason that I use this as my laundry bag, the duffel bag, and I think that's why they were selling these, is my grandmother actually rigged my grandfather's military duffel bag to a hole in the floor upstairs where they could throw their laundry. So she would throw her laundry down, it would end up in that, and then she'd take it over to the other side of the basement, and that's what it was. It was genius. It's freaking genius, honestly. And so that's why I know I still have that, and why I consider this a laundry bag, and it is a laundry bag. Either way, so there you have it. 4 from the store, 1 from my door here on the High Noon Hemp Show.
That's right.
And
To the beachwear segment, where not only we check out all of the hemp records that Beach, especially with clothing, that Beach has set and holds. We also like to point out and poke a little fun at the Guinness World Records Corporation for their stated refusal to bother with anything cannabis or hemp related. So it's up to us to chronicle all of these records. And of course, every week in the beachwear segment, we chronicle what Beach is wearing when I ask him that direct question. Before that, we all like I said, we like to poke fun a little bit at the Guinness World Records and what they're focused on. And I really like, sometimes I have like some commentary about what they're focused on, but today I have none. It's this guy, he set the new Guinness World. I could play a video for you of him doing this, but it's so dumb that I just took a still picture. I'm not even going to waste your time with a video. I'm not going to waste 30 seconds of your life listening to this guy who has memorized the most takeaway dishes. Takeaway food dishes, the most memorized in 30 seconds. I cannot possibly imagine why, how this got started, what the purpose is, what this man's doing with his life. That you see when I'm there in the freeze frame, one of them was salt and chili. There's a bunch more. He memorized more than anybody else in 30 seconds. Why that's important, I could not begin to tell you, because it's obviously not in any way, shape, or form. But ridiculous. Congratulations, John, with a bunch of numbers behind your name.
I'm going to memorize hemp recipes, hemp foods. See what
that would
of course won't be recognized, but I'm going to maybe do it anyway.
I don't know why this guy just can't get a menu like everybody else. I don't understand why he has to memorize them, but he did, and that's dumb. But what we're doing is not dumb, and I'm not going to ask Beach a dumb question. I'm going to ask Beach a very important question. He's going to tell you exactly what he is wearing when I ask, what are you wearing, Beach?
That's true. If you're curious, what are you wearing, Beach? Now you'll know. Here on the High Noon Hemp Show. Up top there, one of my favorite hats of all time. That's my fair hemp. That's a fair hemp hat with the hemp kind of Ford knockoff logo. Got some hemp eyewear. Breaking out the contacts these days. So I got some hemp eyewear going on. Around my neck there, you'll see that is a Beach-made hemp necklace.
Wow.
Found all my old hemp jewelry, so I'm going to start breaking that out for the summer. My jacket is a hemp hoodlam, and you'll be wondering, like, why you got a jacket? It's like, it's pretty. It's like supposed to be 80 today. And the reason that I actually have a hoodie, that I had to wear a hoodie to work, and I probably will wear my hoodie home. I don't know. It's hard to say if it actually gets to 80, maybe not. Is because I am now going topless for the summer. And
Nice.
when I say going topless, I mean I took the top off the Jeep.
Oh,
Doors off, top off, 100% topless. And that's the way it's going to be for the summer. And so it's still a little chilly. I don't, on the way in, it's a little chilly. Uh, so I keep a hoodie there. So that's why I got a hoodie on today when it's going to be 80. And then the T-shirt. If you look closely, that is a Hemp History Week T-shirt. Young Maven from the year 2017. That was 9 years ago. And I have older, I'm pretty sure. So I'll be breaking those out, like I said, over the month. Every show this month, I should be able to do in a different Hemp History Week T-shirt. I don't know if that's going to be a recognizable record, but probably not. Uh, then there you have the jorts. Like, I'm modeling those babies.
right.
You know me, not a model, but there they are, being modeled. Um, not only on the show, but on my body. And then being held up by a Hempy's belt. Underneath it all, a pair of Hemptopia briefs, and then a pair of Hemp Traders no-show socks. And those are, on my feet, my oldest pair of Adidas. We sold these. We actually went in with another store. This probably would have been, I don't know, 96, 97, maybe. We went in with another store to buy a full line of inventory. Um, and the blue was the first color, and then I think black was after that, and then I don't think they released the green ones until somewhat later, if I remember correctly. Now, I could be wrong. I may be wrong. This was 28 years ago. But I am almost positive. I'm almost positive that the blue was the first ones that I got, and then the black pair. Um, and I honestly, I know I have some green shell toes, and oh yes, I do have a original style hemp green shell toe as well. For the record, I I have the record. Probably, I don't know positively. I probably have the record, or have set the record for the most amount of hemp Adidas owned by any one human. Um, and so it all started. It all started with these bad boys right there in the picture, and they're holding up pretty good. The worst thing that's happening, honestly, is the sole is like dried out, kind of, just from whatever. But they still feel good. I think they're actually kind of feeling a little better on the soles. Like, maybe, I don't know. Anyway, so there you have it, folks. If you're curious, how am I breaking in Hemp History Month? I'm doing it Hemp History Week way.
That's right.
And, you will. I will. The last episode of the month will also include my personal hemp history line. We're gonna work our way up. We're gonna work our way up the timeline, and the last episode might just be the last 30 years. The last episode will be the last 30 years.
Indeed.
I'm just telling you right now. So, spoiler alert. So there you have it.
Hmm?
Curious, what are you wearing, Beach? Now you know, on this fine, beautiful Wednesday on the High Noon Hemp Show. All right. Well, this, I believe, is the very first movie trailer that I ever made. So Enjoy, and we'll be back with some news and some history.
Nice.
Feel it, love it, know it. But I was just thinking, if I could remember all of the hemp products that we've sold over 30 years, I'd like to see somebody beat that record.
Right.
You know, if I could say them really fast, maybe just say them really slow, and then be like, "Hey, can you name 87 hemp companies in 3 minutes and 42 seconds?" I don't know, however long it might take me. And 87 is off the top of my head, and that is way low balling it.
Mm-hmm.
They're way low balling it. I mean, I might have 87 different hemp brands out in the store right now.
Yeah.
There's probably 87 different hemp brands that are no longer available to me or we don't sell anymore. Period. So now we're just like double that to 174. Man, I hope that I get that math. That math might actually be right. Anyway,
Yeah.
That's something that. And I did start a compiled list. I have to go back and find that. I did, in fact, start a compiled list of products. Huh. Well, that's a mission. Anyway, let's get on with some news so we can get on with some history. Not a whole lot of news going on, but this is kind of interesting. They did a study on what could help with hemp being grown in soil that's high in salt. And they found, and again, I don't know the whole, this is the FEMP. I think that has something to do with iron. Okay, so they use this FEMP priming under moderate salinity was most effective, and the CBDA and the THCA expression increased 102% for CBD and 170% for THCA. I mean, for growers alone, this might just show you, again, obviously, growers aren't growing in soil that's salty for the most part. But it's kind of interesting that you can boost these numbers like that. And then what's called 90CP treatment similarly bolstered salt tolerance as well. So, it's kind of interesting. Less and less growers grow outside now. That's not necessarily true. I think the next craft cannabis is going to be grown outdoors. One reason why Hawaii and probably Cuban, I don't know how much cannabis they actually grow for recreational purposes in Cuba, but I bet their soil produces some pretty good stuff. If I was to guess, just going off of it, I've never really. I'm not a cannabis grower, and so I don't really, I know that for the industrial hemp part of it, for the grain or the fiber, it's a nitrogen lover. So you boost that nitrogen just like a lot of agricultural crops, and you end up. And I know that that's the same for cannabis for medicinal purposes. Is it likes nitrogen early. It's no different than any other plant there, I suppose, when it comes to the vegetative state of the plant. But there's such a micro horticulture movement when it comes to growing cannabis for its cannabinoids. That's not necessary for the industrial purposes or the food, I should say, the grain and fiber growing, farming. Okay, so last week I said the lawsuit against Medicare covering hemp, THC, and CBD got shabunked, but I did find out, did some research, I did find out that it actually hasn't gone into effect yet, but when it does, it covers THC products up to 3 milligrams per. So, which again, I don't know if I turn in a receipt to Medicare for some gummies, I don't know how they would even know. But and putting restrictions on it makes no sense because it's a dollar amount, and so my understanding is you have you will have when it becomes active, you will have a $500 credit basically, or can get a $500 credit from Medicare for hemp derived THC, CBD, whatever it is, as far as supplements. And I can't call them supplements because the FDA won't approve them as supplements. But there's no other, way to describe them because that's basically what they are. The tinctures, the gummies, all that, whatever it may be. They've probably put the cream in there for some stupid reason, and that's just absurd because there's no cream made that has 3 milligrams of or less than any of those products. My creams are like 1,000 milligrams, 5,000 milligrams. It's insane. So whatever. Which I guess also I don't know how they're going to do that. I honestly don't understand that. And now I'm going to look into that because I don't understand that. And if does that, so CBD doesn't matter? You can have the highest, it shouldn't matter, obviously, but I guess you can only have up to that 3 milligrams. Is that 3 milligrams per container? So are they saying the CBD gummies can't have more than 3 milligrams in the whole container, or is that 3 milligrams per piece? And now I'm seeing, the confusion is stupid. And it shouldn't be so stupid.
Right.
People are using these for therapeutic value. So they should get therapeutic credit for them one way or another. Insurance companies should be covering this stuff, but that's we're one step closer, I suppose. Even though there's now, the whole, even the whole rescheduling thing is probably going to get a legal battle at this point. So we'll see. And maybe because I don't know that Congress actually voted on the reschedule when it's really up to the DEA, which is the dumbest shit ever. Why the DEA should be in charge of cannabis rescheduling is stupid because there's no job security in that for them. Mm-hmm. The DEA wants cannabis to be exactly where it is.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, it's kind of just more confusion over nobody really freaking knows what's going on because that's the general ideology behind everything that this current administration does to begin with. There's no rhyme or reason. It's just like, I don't know, wakes up out of some state and says, I can do this. Anyway, best idea ever. Anyway, a study in mice, and I think I've talked about this before, but I don't believe this was the same study because this study was about CBN and THCV. Okay. Now, and I forgot to mention that the Medicare thing doesn't cover any of the synthetic cannabinoids. And it's interesting that they almost make it sound like they have to be naturally occurring, which all of the synthetic cannabinoids are naturally occurring. They're just naturally occurring in such a small amount that we can't get enough of them out of the flower. So they turn CBD into THCV through the magic of science. And everyone screams synthetic when synthetic isn't always bad. And I know, and I'm a sucker for this. You know what I mean? Because you say something synthetic, and my brain goes to oil-based polyester clothing or whatever. But basically, synthetic just means using science to turn one thing into another thing. And so it's not always bad. You can always, what I mean? And that's all they do with the Delta 8, the Delta 10, some of the HHC, some of these things, again, naturally occurring, but, maybe not HHC, because I don't know if HHC is actually naturally occurring in cannabis. But all of these other stuff are naturally occurring. It's just very small amounts. I mean, don't you think they would have to be? Or how would they know to turn CBD synthetically into Delta 8 if they didn't know that Delta 8 existed to begin with? So it's naturally there. But the Medicare exemption, the Medicare credit is not for this. So we back up to the study. CBN, totally fine. We can get huge amounts of CBN from flower. I have CBN products because CBN has been found to be even more on the calming sleep aid side. And when paired with CBD, it's really good for those things. So that's where I have, CBD and other stuff. And so, that one, that one's easy to get. But the THCV, pretty sure we'd have to synthetically replicate that to get it. But they both have potential in fighting alcohol use disorder. And I've talked about other cannabinoids being positive once again about alcohol. And so here is, again, a study on mice. So, they'll move forward with it. And of course, we'll see how the whole THCV side of it comes into effect. But, more proof that it's very viable that you could come get some CBD tincture from me if alcoholism is an issue for you. Okay. And again, I'm not making any medical claims. I'm only going on what this study says. And you can deduce yourselves whether there's causation or correlation. I believe, just like I believe the side effects of CBD and the side effects of CBN are positive side effects for fighting tobacco addiction. we have seen, I have reported on studies as far as them being positive for opiate addiction, fighting opiate addiction. And so, we're still so far away, and the fact that these things don't make headlines is a testament once again to the pharmaceuticals company keeping natural products away from humans. I mean, how do they exist with a conscience on their heads? And people buying it, I mean, I think one of the most positive things I've seen out of the Maha movement is they're talking about making pharmaceutical ads illegal, and they should be. Again, if I can't, I mean, to be honest with you, and I think tobacco is awful, and there shouldn't be commercials on TV or ads anywhere for tobacco. But I believe if the pharmaceutical companies can send out their ads with their disclaimers that, I mean, like, they're horrid. Like, why?
Yeah.
And, it's like the newest one is this famous, I just love the way they have this famous actor and they talk about the drug for like 10 seconds and then they just show him on a podium reading the disclaimer and like this really calm voice with two people sitting in chairs. What? I mean, it's like they're desensitizing you to the side effects to convince you to use their drugs. I mean, I really need to, I mean, I suppose there's a parody for cannabis there somewhere, But anyway, that's the worst of all these. And again, if you've watched the show for a while, I've countless studies over the last 7-8 years that I've talked about on the show. Countless. And to me, some of them, I mean, for some of the positive, the autism thing, all this, I was like, why are these not making headlines all over the country? And again, because the pharmaceutical company would rather give an autistic kid a big pile of pills than let them have CBD, knowing, and I am speaking from the testimonials that I have gotten from my customers, knowing how much it benefits. That's going to cut me off. Oh my gosh, am I still there?
You're back.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe you can still hear me. All right. So anyway, that's that.
Mm-hmm.
Article: Top trending cannabis products for beauty and health conscious individuals. Number one was CBD oil, and this is what's interesting is they said that this was good because it soothes irritation, it reduces redness, and it hydrates. Which is, I understand the soothing irritation. I do believe that. I feel like CBD is good for that. I don't know about the reducing redness. Maybe again in the sunburn, I'm gonna have to give that a try. If I do get a sunburn or get too red, try my CBD cream on it. The hydrates. That is either as much the CBD or possibly the fact that it's probably in a cream. But I can imagine because even the tincture's got to be in something. I mean, you can't just drop straight CBD on your skin. That would not hydrate. That would gum up things because that's not how that's not the consistency of it. Number two, cannabis infused skincare, and this one it says to manage acne, combat aging, and enhanced overall skin health. Okay. And this one I feel like is still kind of like, like you're talking about THC creams or CBD creams. I feel like, what kind of cream is that? Because if that's a petrochemically based cream that's got CBD or THC in it, That is 100% BS, and I would not recommend it. Now, is that CBD or THC in a hemp oil based lotion or cream? Then, well, yeah, because guess what number 4 is? Hemp seed oil. And to be honest with you, hemp seed oil should be number 1.
Mhm.
You know, I use hemp seed shampoo, conditioner, soap. Um, Even if I use hair gel, and I don't use hair gel a lot. I have the hair for it if I wanted to, because my hair is nice and short, and I can like do some cool stuff and like really, really cool. But anyway, um, but all my body products are based, and that's because again, the protein, the omegas, the vitamins, the minerals, all that stuff is super good for our skin. Super good for our skin. Here's where the CBD, where you benefit from the CBD. That's where you might have some inflammation or puffiness. I'm really surprised that um uh, the mass marketed hemp creams and whatnot aren't almost the CBD ones, if they're CBD based, aren't promoting that as an anti-aging. And I think that's why a lot of actors and actresses have embraced CBD creams, um, uh, for that very reason. So, that's just CBD in a hemp oil based cream is probably the most optimal skincare that you could give yourself. Honestly, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of oils out there, and algaes and all that other stuff. They're like, blah 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 blah. But I think those two combinations, because the CBD is anti-inflammation, and they're anti-aging, which I hate that. You know, anti-aging. We don't time travel doesn't exist. Now you want to fight the side effects of aging, wrinkles, puffiness, those type of things. I don't. I feel like CBD, knowing everything that I know about it, is perfect for that. And then you put on top of that the hemp oil, which is just good for us skin internally and externally. And I doubt there's much that can rival it. We put some vitamin E and some other little things in there that we know is good for our skin. Aloe, I would add aloe to this mixture. I'm giving you $1 million cream idea, folks. All right. Once again, I give this shit away for free. Should I
That's right.
develop this? Yes, I should. But just if you got some money, you want to invest in your own hemp company, make a product that the world inevitably needs.
Hmm.
Again, it may be vanity that makes the world need this, but vanity exists. They're not. I mean, I don't see every other ad watching my free TV for these creams will save your lives. This one's got a 4 stage, and this thing. Look at the wrinkles going away. Oh my gosh, ladies, God, blah blah blah. Me, I could care less. Ladies, leave the wrinkles. I mean, if that's what it is, that's what it is. If you're
Right.
healthy, if you're healthy, it don't matter. But that being said, all of these products exist because of marketing vanity.
Hmm.
So, um, you know, they'll tell us nobody wants to grow up ugly. You get to have all these products because nobody wants to be ugly.
Right.
Anyway, whatever you do, don't be genetically bald. That's terrible. Like, whatever. Like if it's what it is, if it's in your genes, embrace it. Whatever. Anyway, um, here is the only pick we've got this week in the news, but here's a picture of another one of those hemp seed oil coating on a wood restoration. So, basically, you sand down your wood. This person uses milk paint, and this is where I tend to find these, and this is maybe the same person all the time. Tends to use milk paint on the wood, but they always finish with a coat or two of hemp oil. And they'll tell you, don't buy the hemp oil at the grocery store. That stuff's refined. But any hemp oil, let me just tell you this right now: any hemp oil can be ingested, and any hemp oil could be used to do this restoration. If it's 100% hemp oil, it's all seed oil. It don't matter. Now, I guess the seed oil at the grocery store is refined, maybe to make it a little thinner for consumption or mixing in whatnot, your foods. And hemp oil can be used for everything but frying because it has a very low flash point. That's why it makes such a good fuel or burning materials, because it ignites at a very low temperature. So that's why you can't use it. It's not a good frying oil. Um, but everything else, salad dressings, any other reason to use oil, hemp oil is there, and the nutritional value once again is there. Um, and it brings the luster back. And the one thing that they had mentioned was they put a coat on, and they usually it usually takes about 24 hours to absorb pretty well to decide whether you want to put another coat, but it doesn't completely dry for almost a month, which I thought was interesting. So hemp oil as a sealant takes a while, I reckon, to completely cure or dry. Interesting. If you are in Australia, not Australia. That was highly offensive to all Australians, wasn't it, Nate? If you are in Australia, I want you to know that hempfoods.com.au is an excellent resource for all things hemp foods. They have hemp food recipes, they have hemp food locations. And so Australia and New Zealand have really been, I guess, doing their best part to embrace all things hemp, but really the hemp food as a part of it. New Zealand's really embracing the composite part of hemp, which makes sense because, that's all part of that oil grain growing as well. And so anyway, if you're in Australia, hempfoods.com.au, check them out, get your resources. Okay, well, let's go back 28 million years to the Tibetan Plateau. Somehow, some way, this plant called cannabis is making its way into the fauna of the planet. We don't know what spawna this fauna, but we do know it was 28 million years ago. Now, what this produces on the Tibetan Plateau at about 10,000 feet, that's why I think cannabis is so able to be grown anywhere, is because it started at such a high altitude that, it had to be hardy. It had to be a survivor. But we get cannabis sativa, we get cannabis indica, and we get cannabis ruderalis. Ruderalis was the unknown or unneeded cannabis for 27 1,999,998 years, or 99 years. Anyway, until just recently. And the whole reason cannabis ruderalis is making a comeback, or it was never used anyway, is because it's an auto-flowering version of cannabis. So sativa and indica, they flower with the sun. Okay. As soon as that sun gets a certain timeline, this is something that again amazes me with plants that we don't take for granted. Is A, they have a built-in thermometer. The seed has a built-in thermometer. It knows when the soil gets warm enough and it pops out of the ground. Okay. Well, it also has eyes. I don't know, photos. I don't know what to, like, how does a plant know when time? So it understands time because it knows when the sun gets to being in the sky for a certain amount of time, and then it goes into flower because it knows it's that time. All right, that's the sativa and indica. Ruderalis says, "Hey, I've been growing this long. Here comes the flower." It's a very short, always, it makes sense because the average time span from seed to end is half, roughly, of the photos, and so it's just a little plant, but it is making a comeback. I have to say, it really is, and of course, I do think that auto flowering cannabis is the dumbing down of growing, but you can get production in a short amount of time, and so it has its good parts. So we've gone that far, and then we kind of fast forward to about 10,000 years ago, where we can trace hemp twine to pottery. And this all happened in the the Fertile Crescent, all right, which is where the agrarian movement basically started in that part of the world. Okay. When agrarian movement was, we were no longer hunters and gatherers, we were crop growers. We were becoming farmers. Humans were becoming farmers. And so Carl Sagan believed that hemp could have been, and probably was, one of the first crops that humans grew. Out of that, was the fiber. And so we come out, which is, modern day turkey. I'm not even sure if it's called turkey now. I don't know. I feel like it's called something else. That's basically kind of the Fertile Crescent. Okay. And this all, the Fertile Crescent, 10,000, the time periods totally match up to everything that's happening. Now you fast forward to about 6,000 years ago. And at this point, it has made its way into China, made its way fully into India, and is on both sacred grain lists for the most part. This is a plant that is highly sacred to these people for its benefits. And what we stem out of, and that's, it's fiber first. But at this moment in time, we're seeing that this is now becoming a food movement as well. All of a sudden, they're taking the grain and making food with it. Now, there's no way, well, I suppose there should be a way that we can figure out whether this benefited those people in a way that exponentially sped up their evolution because of the protein, because of the omega-6, omega-3, because of the vitamins, the minerals this would have been the healthiest grain that they could be eating to begin with. Now, what's interesting is it obviously, and it doesn't now, even to this day, make a good flour grain, which is why I believe it fell out of food popularity. They didn't understand the benefit necessarily, the benefits they got from eating the hemp seed or using that into something. But then now all of a sudden, you fast forward to breads and things being made, and you wonder if it didn't fall out of favor because it wasn't as good for that. I don't know. These are just my particular hypotheses. Until they are tested, they are just that, hypotheses. But anyway, highly, highly essential to the people. And then, we're getting up, eventually it gets up into Russia, becomes a huge part of that. And that'll be next week's episode. When we started year zero, move up, there's, a lot of Russian history there. Most of the documented history of hemp, and again, it was probably in Russia 5,000 years ago, but most of the documented history of hemp from that 5 to 6,000 years ago comes from China and India. They've also found traces of hemp going back, I think, 4,000 years or so, all the way in Japan. So it's made its way all the way through China and into Japan, at that point. And I'm sure up into Russia and everywhere else. And after that, then it maybe we're starting to see its existence just barely starting to get into Europe as we approach year zero. But it's in parts of what was called Bulgaria, maybe still called Bulgaria. As far as documented, it is making its way at this time period through the Scythians into Northern Europe, where it's getting into the hands of the Vikings, which, if you've watched the show, I've talked about the Cincinnati Museum exhibition on Vikings, where you had a touch screen and you could go and you could pick out your wares and your things, and the options for clothing were hemp pants, hemp shirt, and so the history of hemp, Viking wise, goes way back, which means that the Vikings were probably the first to bring hemp to what we call the Americas now. Sails, riggings, clothing, all right? Because the Europeans didn't bring hemp 1400s. We'll talk about that, but not on this episode, because that's the future of the history of hemp. But the fact that it was in the hands of the Vikings, and now I think even the documented history to the Greenland or Iceland or wherever the Vikings went, I believe that was after year zero anyway. But it's very likely that they could have been, receiving this before year zero, and that's how it evolved into them having the sails that could go. That was, again, next week's future of the history of hemp. I mean, we don't go around the world without hemp. Not as early as we did. Next week, and so, and then I think one of the most important histories of hemp that the tree haters don't want you to know about is the fact that when the paper making process was invented by the Chinese, it was hemp that they were using. Now, just within the last month or so on the show, I reported how they've backed that timeline up by a couple hundred years because they have discovered hemp paper that was at least 200 years older than the time that the documented time the dude that gets credit happened. And it clearly puts it, because I would always say 2,000 years because it's roughly about 2,000 years, but it clearly puts it before year zero, and so all of that happened. All of those things with hemp happened before year zero. Took 28 million years, but it shows the history related to humanity. We only give ourselves credit for being intelligent over the last couple thousand years, honestly. And of course, that's one person's views, or I'm sorry, that is a opinion of a lot of humans.
Mm.
Now, again, me, on the other hand, hundreds of thousands of years. We've been highly intelligent human beings for hundreds of thousands of years. I would almost say that we've digressed in intelligence because we've become so smart, we're stupid now. Like, as we were becoming intelligent human beings and figuring all these things out and making utensils and just all the things that we did as we evolved into where we are now. It was a lot of intelligence out of necessity. But it was also a lot of the fact that our diet improved so much that exponentially we became bigger brained animals. I know religious people don't like for me to refer to humans as animals, but if you don't think we're animals, then you're lost. You are not a Jedi for sure, because all things are connected. But anyway, and so that's the impact is. And that's what really just amazes me about where we are with hemp now, is how much of an impact it had on humanity. And there you have it, the impact between 28 million years ago and year zero. Next week, we'll do year zero to, I'll have to decide, but it will be a lot of fascinating history. I guarantee that you're going to learn some things about the history of hemp that you didn't know.
Nice.
Only because I feel like I know more things about the history of hemp than anyone out there. Or you may know because you watched the show enough. I'm not trying to keep these as secrets. Doesn't do me any good at night to go to bed knowing all this hemp information if I can't wake up in the morning and tell somebody. So, and I say pass it on. Anyway, all right, folks. Happy hemp history month. We're just getting started. Thanks for watching the show. We'll see you next week. Remember, reduce, reuse, recycle. Make everything else out of hemp. Having temptations.
See you all next week.